So it's time to look at the new Nintendo Switch games for this week. And I've got a list of 8 great games lined up. Now, it is very indie heavy right now because you know what? We're coming up to the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. And it's sort of normal that there's no companies coming out with any major AAA titles. But I still think there's a little bit of something for everyone on today's list. So as usual, don't forget to hit that like button. Now, let's jump into the new games. So let's take a look at our first game for today. And it's a game that's going to be releasing pretty much today, March 10th. It's going to be selling for $19.99. Now that game is Tinkertown. Now I do want you to be careful for this one because it was released in early access on Steam about a year ago and it did have some mixed reviews. However, this is the full release. This is the 1.0 release, meaning that most of the items that were problematic should have been fixed. However, for a game like this that did have mixed reviews at the start, I always say to be careful, maybe wait for a review or two to come out. It is basically a mix of a city builder, life sim, and action adventure game. Now, it is a very pixel art heavy. I do really like the look of the game, but I do got to admit that the combat looks like maybe the weakest section. So let's take a look at the trailer and see what the game has to offer.
This is Tinkertown, a cozy pixel sandbox adventure game out now on PC and all consoles.
Now what I do like is there is a combat section, however.
Super chill. You can also customize your character, craft, decorate, farm, go fishing, help out the NPCs, build your own houses that can look like this or this.
I do like the fact that you can build like your own house and really like city builder style.
Delve into the different dungeons, including the all-new lava biome. And the best part, you can play with your friends. So what are you waiting for? Grab your controllers and your
The
friends
multiplayer aspect has me very interested as well. So like I said, for $20, this seems okay priced. I would think it would be even more competitive at the $15 price point, just because if you take something like Stardew Valley and whatnot, this is like directly competing in the same type of market. And let's be honest, even though this game looks good, it's not going to be a Stardew Valley. However, this does have combat sections to it. It does have the adventuring to it. I think it's going to appeal to an audience. Question is the game going to deliver a combat experience that feels satisfying? I think the city building, the farming and all that, that's pretty easy to get on point. The question is going to be the adventuring and the combat. If they can pull that off, I do think we have a good game on our hands, and this is definitely one to keep an eye on for this week. So now let's jump into our second game. And this is actually my top game for this week. This game, I definitely, as long as it comes out, because last week I wanted to play Twilight Monk and it ended up having a false release date and basically being pushed back. So as long as this game does come out, however, I definitely want to try it out. And that is Beyond the Ice Palace 2. Maybe not the best title ever, but by the look of it, it feels like a very Castlevania-inspired game. It's going to be releasing on March 11th, so probably by the time you're watching this video, it might already be out. And it'll be selling for $19.99 with currently a pre-release discount of $17.99. Putting it down to $17.99, I mean. Pixel art action game slash Metroidvania. But the pixel art looks fantastic. The action looks, like I said, very Castlevania inspired, both in its inspiration and its gameplay. Hopefully, the mechanics are going to feel good. I am worried some of the gameplay seems to be a little bit on the slower side, and sometimes that can play out good as a more of like a strategy approach, or sometimes it can play against the gameplay. But let's take a look at the trailer and once again, make our decision on what we can expect from the game. I'm getting like super Castlevania vibes from this one. If you know my style, this is like right in my wheelhouse. I love the customization. So that is Beyond the Ice Palace 2. Like I said, other than the title, the game to me looks pretty good. Question is it going to deliver a good gameplay experience? Because I am worried slightly about the combat in some sections. Like some of the interactions with the different items looked like the hitboxes could be a little bit off. But overall, if it comes out and it offers a solid gameplay experience, I think this game is going to be a fantastic release for this week. And it is most likely the front runner for what we're going to be playing on Friday. So if you do want to check it out, tune in on Friday. We most likely are going to be playing this game right here. Okay, now our next game for this week is going to be Centum. Sorry, I was going to say Centrum, but those are vitamins. Centum, which is releasing on March 11th, selling for $14.99, currently with a pre-release discount, bringing it to $11.99. Now, this is a 2D dark fantasy puzzle RPG with almost like a visual novel feel to it. But the game looks freaky as hell. And honestly, that's what you want from a dark fantasy game. And it visually at least looks like it's really going to deliver on that aspect. Question is, are the puzzles going to be living up to the vibe that the game is giving off? Well, that's what we're going to hopefully answer this week once reviews are out. But I do want to take a look at the trailer because, like I said, on the vibe level, this game has it going on. Don't worry, I'll entertain you. And Serenity Forge, by the way, has some pretty decent games, especially in the wacky genre. So it's not a very long trailer. It doesn't really give us any idea of what the gameplay itself is going to look like. And that's maybe a takeaway for the publisher developer here. A game like this, you need to show some gameplay. It's going to be really hard to convince someone to buy the game just on the back of the vibes. I mean, this is as close as you're going to get to that. But at the same time, give us a little bit of gameplay. It can really go a long, long way. But if you're into the market for a freaky game for this week, at least at $11.99 is a pre-release price. It's not that big of a risk. And $14.99 at its full price puts it right in the right sort of target area that if it turns out to deliver a really like freaky off, like uncomfortable but like voluntarily uncomfortable experience, it can really end up being a great game for this week. So Centum, March 11th, $14.99. Keep an eye on it. I have a weird suspicion that this game is going to deliver something fun. Now, the closest game to the only game that I was debating playing over Beyond the Ice Palace 2 is the next one, which is The Phantom. And this game is releasing on March 12th. It'll be selling for $22.99. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up based on The Phantom, which is a comic book series. There's also a movie called The Phantom, but let's just say it's not exactly the best superhero movie ever. Okay, it's one of those like 80, I feel like it was 90s tries at comic book superheroes, and let's just say it fell far from the mark. But the visuals on this beat 'em up look fantastic. The Flying Kick, which is a channel that specializes on covering beat 'em ups, also has been talking a lot about this game. And this guy really knows his beat 'em up stuff, and he's been talking about the game and praising it. So hopefully this game is going to have some really fun mechanics behind it. Let's take a look at the game, at the trailer. Honestly, the visuals on the game has me convinced that I do want to play this one. And if I can find a way to play 2 games this week on top of trying to play through Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm definitely going to try to play The Phantom as a second game.
For those who came in late, 400 years ago, pirates attacked and destroyed a great sailing ship. A father sacrificed his own life to save his son. A sole survivor washed ashore. The young boy was nursed to health and swore an oath. I swear to devote my life to the destruction of all forms of piracy, greed, and cruelty. May my sons and their sons follow me. This is the legacy of my family. I am the Phantom.
Like I said, I love the comic book inspired visuals. They look really on point. I'm trying to remember the name of the actor that played the Phantom in the movie, but I'm having a blank. But it's like it went down in history as one of the like really bad comic book movies. But there we have The Phantom. Now, honestly, visually, this game looks fantastic. The one thing I do want to say, some of the animations do look a little bit slow. So that's why I'm the only problem I think this game will have is, does it feel good in the moment-to-moment combat? Because if the gameplay feels too slow or clunky, that can be the only thing that would hold back a game like this. But I love that he has his wolf companion with him that seems to fight alongside with him. We have like chase sequences on a horse that are actually really awesome to see as well. Because I think it's really important nowadays, beat 'em up games, to have those like levels in between that sort of breaks up the actions and gives you a second style of gameplay. The only thing is that gameplay has to be very well done. And I think this game might deliver on that. Like I said, on top of it, the Flying Kick has been endorsing this game for a while. If you haven't checked out his channel before, I definitely recommend it. I watch it on a regular basis. He knows his beat 'em up stuff. He's even consulted on developing different beat 'em ups. So this is a guy that knows what he's talking about. So hopefully he's not overhyping the game and it turns out to be something really great. The Phantom, if you're a beat 'em up fan, definitely keep a close eye on this one for this week, because I think it has some extremely high potential. Okay, let's jump into our next game. Next game is going to be 3D Don't Die, Mr. Robot. You know, when I was talking about weird titles this week, this is another one that maybe would have needed a little bit of work. This game is coming out on March 12th as well, and it'll be selling for $12.99. It's an arcade-style shooter game, and the first reviews that I checked on Steam for the game seem extremely positive. There aren't a ton of reviews, however, so it is a possibility that maybe, you know, these reviews can be somewhat influenced or one-sided, but nonetheless, the action in the game looks fun enough if you're looking for one of those quick pick-up-and-play arcade-style games for this week. Secondly, at $12.99, it's maybe a tad expensive for this type of game. I feel that these type of games really run best at $10 or less. But nonetheless, let's take a look at what the game has to offer. Visually, it is very enticing. So it's basically arena style combat. I'm just unclear how you destroy your enemies. Do you just make contact with them, or it feels like you need to touch the fruits to make them explode, from what I can see from the gameplay. Yeah, it's pretty much that. Like I said, I think it's going to be one of those great games for like quick pick up and play sessions. Like I said, I really like the visuals, especially if the arenas are sort of fluctuating like this. What I'm wondering is this for the trailer, or do they actually fluctuate like that? If they do, I actually think it's a positive thing. It's going to keep you really like engaged in the game and like visually enhance it. So 3D, Don't Die, Mr. Robot. Is it going to be a fantastic, groundbreaking game for this week? No. But if you're into the arcade genre, I think this one has once again, a really interesting gameplay style to it. And at $12.99, once again, it's pretty well priced. Although I'm going to say it again, I would have put it at the $9.99 price. And it's also maybe one that I would wait for an eShop deals. Even if it turns out to be a pretty good game, I do think this one will come on sale pretty quickly. I think you're going to be able to pick it up probably around like the 30-40% off mark pretty quick. So if you do agree with me at that under $10 price point, unless you're aching for a new arcade style game to play, you could also wait for a sale on this one for this week. But nonetheless, I think a game that deserved a bit of attention. Next, we have, I think, a top runner for quality for this week. This game has probably one of the highest potentials to be a high quality game for this week, and that is Expelled. That is hitting us on March 12th as well. It's going to be selling for $14.99. Now, I have a quick blank on the game that it's Overboard. Now, this is a game that comes from the same company that did Overboard. Now, these are sort of visual novel-inspired games. This one is a murder mystery that you're going to have to solve. Now, what isn't clear is if it's going to use the same style as the previous game Overboard, which had a time loop mechanic where basically it was like a Groundhog Day where you had to piece together elements within a time frame. And then if it didn't work, you sort of had to start the day over till you managed to solve the mystery or solve the problem. I'm hoping this one is going to be selling the same type of mechanic because it really worked well for Overboard, made it a fantastic game. And I think in the murder mystery format, Expelled could be really, really fun. Now, you are playing in a school and you have to try to discover the mystery without getting expelled. So you have to try to break the rules as little as possible. Well, as much as possible without going over the line, if you will. Let's take a look at the gameplay.
I've always been a good girl. But someone just pushed a prefect out of a window. And everyone says it was me. If the other girls won't play by the rules, it's time to break them. Yeah! Someone has to take the fall.
Oh, see, they even say here an Overboard game. Now, this one really, I'm suggesting on the strength of the previous game. I'm trusting that the developers knew how to put together a fantastic game the first time and that they're going to manage to use a similar style to put together a fantastic game this time. But I do think if you are into the visual novel style and you're looking for something for this week and you want it, this one is worth taking a chance on because I do think it has a very high potential of being a very good game for this week, based, like I said, on the success of previously similarly styled games in the same genre by the same developer. The visual style is also very, very interesting. A mix, I would say, of comic book and storybook almost. And like I said, the whole thing that you're going to have to try to push the limits without getting expelled from school. So I'm wondering if you get expelled, you start over and that's going to be the time loop. I'm not quite sure. But overall, this game has me extremely intrigued. It's not top of the list for this week, but like if I have the time, this is definitely one that I'm going to want to pick up the first time it goes on sale. So great potential game for this week. And like I said, I don't often suggest in the visual novel style genre, but this one had me interested enough and convinced enough in its potential that I wanted to talk about it. Now, next we have a game also coming from a developer that I really love, and that is Be Brave Barb, which is coming out on March 12th, will also be selling for $14.99. Now, the developer of this game is the same developer that did Dadish. Now, if you've watched the channel, I'm a huge fan of the Dadish games. They are simple 2D platformers, but that have a great evolution to the series. And I'll just say it. The only thing is when he did try to make the Dadish 3D, I don't think the transition to 3D was as successful as the Dadish series. Well, I'm glad to see that we're looking at a 2.5D format, but with really 2D based mechanics for the gameplay in a new series that he's trying out, Be Brave Barb. And I say he because this is a solo developer, okay, Thomas K. Young, but I love his way of developing simple yet fun gameplay mechanics, and he has a really dry but fun humor to his gameplay generally. So let's take a look at the trailer. You'll see it really seems like a awesome 2.5D evolution of the mechanics and a fair bit away from the Dadish series. So let's take a look at the trailer. I love the gravity play mechanics. And you see that same type of dry humor that you got from like Dadish. Dry, but it puts a little smile on your face. So a pretty short trailer, but I think we see what we need to see. You know what I mean? The gameplay is 2.5D mechanics. The level designs seem on point. And like I said, based on how good the original Dadish series was, I do think this game deserves some attention for this week. Now, I do want to say, however, $14.99 feels a bit expensive, however. Not that I don't love this developer and find that his games are high quality for what he develops them. Just in the overall market on the Switch, $14.99 puts you stacked against some pretty good games out there. Now, once again, I would have felt this one better at the $10 mark. Just like the Dadish games, I think are great pickups when they're on sale. Some of them can be slightly expensive at their full price, however. But Be Brave Barb, nonetheless, keep an eye on it. And if we don't pick it up for this week, it is definitely going to be a strong consideration for future eShop deals. So if you are looking for eShop sales as well, most likely, as long as this game delivers a decent gameplay experience, it is going to be featured in future eShop deals. It's probably, like I said, going to have a sweet spot once it hits under $10. Now we have one last game left for this week, and it is the funky game for this week. The game that, once again, gameplay is extremely original. However, I'm very convinced that it's going to be an extremely fun experience. And that is One Button Bosses, but button is written BTN. So One Button Bosses, releasing on March 13th, and this one is going to be $9.99. Now, I took the gameplay explainer trailer here because once you understand how the gameplay works, you're going to understand how probably fun a simple concept can be pushed. So let's take a look at one button bosses, which is going to be our final, yet definitely not our least game for this week.
Hi, we're Midnight Munches, and this is One Button Bosses, a boss rush with just a single button. You play as a pilot of a little spaceship that automatically orbits around the boss in the middle of the screen. Whenever you press your button, you change direction. But if you don't press the button, you go faster, and the faster you go, the faster you shoot. Sounds easy? Don't worry, there's 50 handcrafted levels that you, and your assistant Ace, will need to get through to become the one true boss yourself. But even more bosses await in Rifts and Discoveries, or roguelike game mode, where you will face randomly generated bosses and unlock new abilities. You will dash over enemies, juggle dangerous bullets, and make the most broken build possible. So, download the Steam demo and show them who's boss.
So first thing, as they just said, there is a Steam demo available. And right now, the responses are extremely positive. But the gameplay focus on being one button that basically changes your direction, but the longer you can stay in the same direction affects how fast you're attacking. So you want to try to stay in the same direction as long as possible. It sounds like an extremely simple concept, but if you look at the later level designs, it's going to be getting freaking crazy. And I love boss rush games. Like, I think boss rush games are fantastic games for challenging yourself, and I feel that this one is going to be an extremely challenging game. On top of it, 50 handcrafted levels, and on top of it, a rogue-like secondary gameplay mode with randomly generated bosses that is going to extend the gameplay. Like, the value you're getting here for $10 is going to be great. And I'm convinced that this gameplay principle is going to work great. And the game has a simple yet great looking aesthetic once as well. It looks great. I'm pretty sure it's going to play great. And the concept is absolutely so simple yet fantastic at the same time. So the last game for this week is definitely one that I think is going to deliver an extremely original and fun gameplay experience for this week. And those are the kind of games I try to highlight each and every week. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the games for this week. Which ones do you think you're going to be picking up? Are there any games you maybe think I missed out on for this week? Let me know in the comments down below as well. And as usual, on the way out, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't already, click on the notification bell, and as usual, I'll see you in my next video.